Hello everyone, it's Run the NBA here with another NBA video, and today we're going to be talking about the Denver Nuggets, and most specifically, what is keeping them from being a true title contender. This is a team that, as far as I'm concerned, took a big step forward last year, even from years previous. I think Jamal Murray took another step above. I think Nikola Jokic obviously took another step above being the league MVP, and I think MPJ really took a big step forward last year as well. Was Jeremy Grant leaving, he took in a bigger role, and I think he really showed up and showed that he could be that guy. Of course, Jamal Murray was injured for the back end of the season and the playoffs, and that's what ultimately led to them having such a quick fallout against the Phoenix Suns. But there's no doubt this team can definitely still come back and be competitive next year. They have Aaron Gordon back for another season. And so we're going to be talking in this video what they could potentially look to do this summer as they look to become one of the favorites in the league and in the Western Conference to reach and win the NBA Finals next season. So as far as free agents go for Denver this offseason, they have Paul Millsap and Javale Mcgee as the two vets per se that are going to be free agents, but then they also have Austin Rivers, PJ Dozier, Shaq Harrison, and Marcus Howard, who are also all free agents. And some of those guys a few months previous weren't even on the team, or you wouldn't have considered to be guys that you really would have been concerned about, or wouldn't have been guys that you would have thought of being anything more than on two-way contracts again. But you have to think that Denver might be interested in bringing back Austin Rivers. Now, the role would be lesser once Jamal Murray's back from his injury. Now, that may not be until later on in the season. It may not be at the start of the season. And so Campazzo and Austin Rivers may be that duo, that tandem that helps pick up those minutes alongside Monte Morris. But then you also have a scenario in which Marcus Howard was quite valuable down the stretch. He didn't really play a ton throughout the early parts of the season, but he was valuable later on in the year and proved to be someone who was come in and get some buckets and get them some spacing. Still a young player in his rookie season last year, and he has some upside and someone who might get signed into a pro-level deal this season as well. And then, of course, PJ Dozier is also a free agent who's been a solid backup guard for Denver for the last few years. So no one crazy here for Denver, but they do have some good young depth that they could consider, and then a vet in Austin Rivers that they could look to bring back to really solidify their guard depth moving into next season. They probably won't bring all these guys back. That's 4 guards, but they definitely have a lot of options there to be able to have some good guard depth again moving back into next season. Now, what is going to likely decide on how many of those guys they do bring back, assuming they all do want to return, is what happens with Will Barton. Will Barton had a player option for the summer. He has opted out of that player option at $14.88 million for next season. As I mentioned, he's opted out of that, but he has mentioned that he would be interested in trying to return to Denver. That would assume to me then that he wants more than $14.88 million per year, which I would argue he's really not worth. But at age 30, someone who's been a starter for Denver for many years now and such a valuable piece to this team, they'll obviously be motivated to bring him back. Injury concerns have been a big concern for him. His last 3 years have been 43, 58, and 56 games played. And so his availability is a question, but he has a good three-point shot. He can score on offense for you, not at a high rate, but he can definitely be a good complementary piece and someone that can definitely be beneficial to this team. But the biggest losses or potential losses are going to be in the likes of Paul Millsap and JaVale McGee. Now, they might bring both of these guys back on veteran minimums or near veteran minimums, and they'll be fine. They can bring them back and they'll keep depth. But if they don't, the front court is going to look very thin behind Nikola Jokic, and so they're going to have to look for a replacement at the backup center spot, depending on who they bring back. And so that brings me to the question of what is keeping this team from being an NBA contender or a favorite for the NBA title. And to be quite frank, a big part of it last year, of course, was just health. If Jamal Murray's healthy, Denver, after the acquisition of Aaron Gordon, another scoring threat, scoring punch, can cut to the rim, be a very good rebounder, and was a very, might I add, very good perimeter defender, was someone who locked up Damian Lillard quite well in several moments in that first round series. And I think now that he can just focus on being that energy guy, which I think he's best at, someone who can cut to the rim, get offensive rebounds, get defensive rebounds, guard the best perimeter or wing player on the other team on the defensive end. That's where his game's at. That's where his strength's at. That's what he can do in Denver, and I think that's very valuable for this team. And so once you add Jamal Murray back into that, I think this is going to be a very tough team to beat. You have an NBA MVP caliber player, Nikola Jokic, two very good scorers in Jamal Murray and MPJ. And then you have your complementary pieces, Will Barton, Jermichael Green, Campazzo, Monte Morris, Austin Rivers if they bring him back, whoever they bring back, if they do bring back either of Millsap and Mcgee and Barton, if they can keep him. There's some nice complementary pieces here. The only thing I would say Denver need to do to really increase their odds of becoming a favorite to win an NBA title is to improve on the defensive end. Now, they have improved. MPJ's an improved defender. I still wouldn't call him a good defender, but he is improved. Nikola Jokic is no longer a liability on the defensive end. You could argue he's actually a good defender now at the center position who offers some decent rim protection and much better mobility. Someone who slimmed down a lot and improved his mobility a lot over the last couple of years and can now guard a bit more in space in the pick and roll as well as at the rim. But outside of Aaron Gordon, there isn't really a lockdown guy on this team anymore. Paul Millsap's mobility isn't what it used to be. Jermichael Green's mobility isn't great for guarding elite wings. Campazzo can be feisty defensively, but he's undersized. Austin Rivers can be decent on the defensive end, but there isn't that many elite defensive guys on this team. And so if I'm Denver this summer, if you can bring in another good backup guard who's really good defensively, or a backup center who's an elite rim protector, those types of things, those depth acquisitions that they will make, no doubt, the summer, as every team does every year. Bringing in those types of guys that are going to be defensive oriented is going to be what Denver needs. Offense is not the issue for Denver. Denver are one of the best offenses in the league. They have Jokic, they have Jamal Murray, they have Aaron Gordon, Will Barton, MPJ, Monte Morris, Barton if we're going back. This is not going to be a team that is going to struggle to score the basketball. They never have been since Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray have been there, and that'll continue to be the case moving forward. So if they can bring in some depth players this summer on veteran minimums deals and their mid-level exception, because that's about all they have as far as cap space, if they can do that and bring in some defensive players, they can be a legit threat. The offense is not a concern. It's just about improving the defense. And I don't think Denver were that far away from being one of the favorites for an NBA title, assuming that Jamal Murray can come back healthy and be at his elite self within a couple of months before the playoffs start. That's my thoughts on the Denver Nuggets moving into this offseason. Let me know what you guys think down below regarding the Denver Nuggets this offseason and how close they are to being title contenders or favorites. I hope you guys did enjoy the video. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe down below to the channel if you are new. I will be continuing my NBA offseason preview videos up through the next week until the NBA draft, which is now a week from today, where I will be covering all of the draft news, trades, and free agency signings and trades a few days shortly after that. That being said, hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next one.